right.
Poor time, Captain Svensson.
Contrary winds, Mr. Onedin. She will not sail close.
Don't tell me how my ship sails. There'll be no bonus this trip.
She is laden to the gunwales, slow on the helm. It is better to arrive safely than not at all, I think.
Captain Svensson, every day costs money. Owner's hands are never out of his pockets these days. Here, you! Have it up! Get these hatch boards on! You there! Get these stockies here! Step lively there, will you, blast you?
Kept the berth for you, Mr. Onedin.
You sing a different tune to one you did a couple of years ago, don't you?
Huh?
Then you was chasing me for 15 sovereigns and chucking my casks up the quay.
Times change, Mr. Onedin. Times change.
Yeah.
I will but doing my duty.
The company assets now stand at £27,484, 10 shillings and, 4pence. Well, we've not done too badly, eh?
Assets, but how much of that is actually cash in hand?
Oh, I've no fear, Anne. We're well cushioned against adversity.
Have you taken into account Robert's 15%?
Our shareholders are paid on profits, not assets.
You must stop treating him as a poor relation, James.
He treats everyone as if they just come from the parish. I warrant there's little enough money finds its way into your purse any more than it does into my pocket.
Now, you be quiet, Father. Robert is a shareholder and as such is entitled to return on his investment.
£15 worth of shares.
When you needed it most.
Have you any idea how much those shares are now worth?
No.
Nor, I imagine, does Robert.
He'll be paid. But first I must pay off Senor Braganza for my share of the Pampero. Now that's £1,500. Well, maybe if I declare a bonus of £200, that should take care of Robert, eh?
15%?
Well, a company cannot expand without reserves.
Household accounts.
Pay them then.
I cannot.
Must think me a bottomless pit. Very well, I'll write you a draft on the bank. Damn tradesmen. They must extend our credit.
They have extended it.
Those shopkeepers once fought for our custom. Now that we've fallen on lean times, they choose to snap at our heels. Very well, as you seemingly cannot, I'll deal with them.
I'm a shopkeeper's daughter. I know that there comes a point when the tradesman must cry halt. We have reached that point.
The steamship men have their own designers. Sailing ship men laugh at my notions. What am I to do?
Make it up with your father. I'm sure he'd welcome you back into his business.
I'm not going to spend the rest of my life designing masts and spars.
Without employment, we shall starve.
Oh, I cannot, Elizabeth, I cannot.
It's no more than a little pride on both sides.
My father had the impertinence to state in public that I'd married beneath myself and without parental consent.
The fault is mine, so I will apologize.
You'll do no such thing, I forbid it.
As you wish, Albert. Where are you going?
To see James. About a promise.
£200. It's a fortune, Robert.
Don't imagine that I didn't earn it. I slaved down at those docks. Do you know, the indolence of some of those workers is past belief.
What is a dividend?
Well, it's my share of 1 year's profits, 15%.
£200. But James must be making money hand over fist.
Oh, there's plenty more where this came from.
Right. Then we bank £50 immediately in little Samuel's name. Then we can pay all our outstanding accounts. We can renew all the stock and we can...
And I can have a new suit. Oh, my love.
You made a promise.
I did no such thing.
As God's me witness.
Now, look, we were in a bit of a tight spot. It was either a federal prison or a fanciful tale.
You said that the contraband profits were to be used to build a steamship.
To be built by Albert.
No, that was bait to dangle before an ambitious Yankee. Fortunately for us, he swallowed it. Now, that ambitious captain walked off with £15,000 of my money. If anybody's in a position to help you, it should be him. By my reckoning, he showed enough enthusiasm to build a dozen steamships.
And you cannot summon enough courage to invest in one.
Now, look, when I build a ship, it won't be out of charity.
Is that your last word?
No. No, I do have it in mind to get myself another ship, and when I do, it'll be a sister to the Pampero.
And you're a fool.
Albert, the day that you can show me how one steamship can bring in a better profit than two of sail, I'll give you an order.
Right. Come, Elizabeth.
James.
Elizabeth.
Poor Albert.
Albert's spoiled with education. To learn to stand on his own feet like I've had to do. And you're wasting your time. Mr. Baines will never wear a master's uniform.
I have every confidence in Mr. Baines.
Mrs. Fraser,
Aren't we being formal all of a sudden?
I think it better.
Since you came up in the world.
Albert has proved to be a good husband.
I can think of no better.
The choice was yours.
And how is Miss Emma Callon these days?
She's well. Why do you ask?
Because it seems to me, Mr. Fogarty, that you too set your sights high.
So you've a mind to come back into the firm, have you?
It seemed to be a great deal of bother about nothing.
You broke your mother's heart.
Oh, nonsense, Father. Mamma has a heart of flint, as well you know.
While you're under my roof, you'll speak respectfully of your mother or not at all.
I speak of her much as you treat her.
That's enough. I've work to do.
Good. Well, now that we've disposed of family affairs, shall we discuss business?
Business? What do you know of business? You chose to ignore sound, practical advice and you married that scheming ironmonger's daughter.
Chandler's, actually. It was your father, you will remember, who dealt in nuts and bolts.
Your grandfather was a manufacturer.
I knew it was some sort of trade.
I didn't spend good money on your education to have the privilege of sitting in my office trading sarcasms.
No. You invested in me education like a prudent man might put capital aside for his old age.
And what's wrong with that? You had a better start in life than ever I had. A man has every right to expect a son to follow in his footsteps, lend support to him in his old age.
At last we're beginning to see eye to eye. I do have a poor head for business, but much of that is your fault.
What?
And so you must be prepared to shoulder some of the responsibility.
I'll tell you what's wrong with the way you're carrying on your business. You're undercapitalized, and you spend too much of your time trying to cram your crackpot notions down other people's throats.
I have made mistakes.
And now you come creeping back to me, cap in hand. It won't wash, Albert. It won't wash.
And I must take my talent elsewhere.
Talent? What talent?
A trifle over sparred, don't you think?
There's power there. Power to drive her. That'll be one of Callon's new clippers, specially designed for the wool trade. I'm expecting regular 80-day passages from her.
And 40 men to crew her. I could redesign her and she would sail with but half that crew.
Get on about your blasted steam engines again!
Am I interrupting?
No, Elizabeth, I was just leaving.
I do apologize for the intrusion, Mr. Fraser, but your clerk directed me here.
It was no intrusion. Our discussion was at an end.
Oh, thank you. You're most considerate, Mr. Fraser.
You'll take a little refreshment.
Well,
I insist.
then how can I refuse? You're not at all the ogre I remember.
Ogre? Me?
I was terrified out of my wits.
Terrified? Of me?
My limbs quite turned to water. Thank you. Even my brother James stands in awe of you.
James?
The ship owner.
Of course. Young Onedin. I hear he's tweaked a few noses on his march to success. I doubt Callon will ever forgive him.
I'm afraid James lacks your gallantry, sir. He's far too outspoken. An unfortunate habit which will surely someday cause us mutual concern.
You've quite lost me, madam.
People committed to the shipping interests tend to move in small circles. Unguarded tongues can create a situation of common embarrassment.
Yes, of course.
And the fault is wholly mine.
No, my dear. I made an error of judgment. I've made few mistakes in my life, but when I do, I'm the first to own I'm wrong. You start tomorrow, Albert, on the dot of 8. And mind you to forget your crackpot notions about building these Iron monstrosities. Is that understood?
Yes, Father.
Bottom.
Oh.
I passes. I pass me masters. Congratulations.
Oh, come along then.
What?
Put the Pampero waiting long enough.
Pampero?
Aye. What did you expect for your first command? A smoke pot? Come along, Captain Baines.
But James owes it to Albert.
You heard James. He says he made no such undertakings.
You were present at the time.
It's very difficult. The promise was made, but only to inveigle that captain. Where matters of business are concerned, James is alone to himself. I doubt he'd order as much as a rowboat out of sentiment.
Then we must persuade him.
How?
At a little dinner party, perhaps?
Dinner party?
Oh, I think that's a splendid notion. Well, Robert and I would be delighted to attend. You could ask Mr. and Mrs. Fraser, and your father, Anne. Then, after the ladies have left the gentlemen to their port and cigars, they can discuss business. And who knows where that may lead.
But it'll be easier to pass the proverbial camel through the eye of a needle than persuade James to attend a formal dinner party.
He can hardly avoid an appearance at his own.
Never forget, a master's first duty is to his owner.
I shall always bear it in mind, sir.
If you get into difficulties, don't start sending frantic and muddled messages home.
No, sir.
Ship singled up fore and aft, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Tranter. Allow me to see you ashore, sir.
Well, William, good luck. Every confidence in you.
And my best to Mrs. Onedin, sir. If it hadn't been for her, I'd never have worn this.
Never in doubt, never in doubt. Every confidence in you.
Thank you, sir. All right, come on, clear the gangway. Look lively there. Mr. Tranter, sir. Ship is yours, Mr. Tranter.
Aye, aye, sir. Cast off fore and aft. Sheet land, topsails. Shake 'em up, boatswain, shake 'em up.
Bound to the mast. And the villain, such a monster as you never saw, was about to set fire to the ship.
And I suppose the hero arrived in the very nick of time, downed the villain with one blow of his fist, and rescued the young lady.
Well, yes, he did. But then what happened? Why, within minutes, the ship became a roaring inferno and blew up in a monstrous explosion.
Taking the villain to his well-deserved reward.
Oh, that, on a stage.
Twice nightly. I'd have given better odds on the villain's chances if it had been an iron ship.
Granted, iron ships don't catch fire so easily, but their boilers do explode.
A typical sailing ship man's tale. When did the last steamship blow up?
Just a few months ago off Tranmere, with considerable damage to property.
It's the work of an incendiary. She was laden with gunpowder.
That sounds like a typical steamship man's tale. Yeah. What do you say, Onedin?
Oh, was she insured?
On, Mr. Tranter.
Drawing nicely, sir. Smell of ice in the air.
Keep her as she goes. We'll be in brown skin latitudes because of that change in the moon.
Aye, aye, sir.
cannot pretend that steam packets are not today crossing the ocean.
Mainly under sail, Albert, mainly under sail. The first sign of bad weather, they douse their fires and hoist their canvas. Leave them to the Navy, my boy. They can afford to back their follies with taxpayers' money.
Her Majesty's Navy does not indulge in folly, sir.
Well, you must agree, Captain Webster, the Board of Admiralty has a somewhat longer purse than most of us.
A navy that has the wit and imagination to build a ship such as the ironclad Warrior is in little need of reprimand from a wooden shipbuilder, sir.
Oh, she was a converted, full-rigged ship, neither fish nor fowl, out of date before she was built like all the rest of them. But you were too blind, and you too obstinate to recognize a fact when it's thrust before you.
The facts are, Albert, that without government subsidy, steamships cannot pay their way.
They would if they built them my way.
Oh, what is your way?
There is your sailing ship. Stick an engine in it, everyone imagines you have a steamship. You haven't. You have a steam-driven sailing ship.
So?
You start afresh. You build the ship around the engine. Now, you take out these masts.
Here, hold on. It's just a hull that you want, I can oblige. Mr. Baines' hobby left it behind.
We build a steam-driven floating warehouse.
Go on.
Now, Captain Baines, on the poop of his sailing ship, cannot see what lies ahead. But on this ship, just forward of the funnel, we build a walk. By bridging the midship sections like this, the officer on duty can see all around the horizon. That should go to bringing your insurance rates down.
How much of that tonnage is taken up by engine and coal?
About 1,000 tons.
Then she'll never show a profit. That sailing ship can carry 1,500 tons of cargo compared with that puffin billy's 500.
No. The upper limits of sail have been reached. The upper limits of a power-driven ship are not yet in sight. I've designed this ship to carry 2,500 tons.
2,500 tons? What, she'll go straight down to the bottom.
What do you do when the engine blows up?
Well, the same as you do as when a sailing ship's dismasted.
Now then, bigger ships will need bigger engines, and therefore more coal.
A more powerful engine is not necessarily larger. Mr. Elder's compound engine uses lower fuel consumption per horsepower.
At what speed?
Around 12 knots.
Any of Callon's square riggers will show a clean pair of heels.
You sailed to Quebec recently, didn't you, Jake? How long did it take?
38 days out, 14 days back.
52 days. You made a good passage. This ship will take 14 days there and 14 days back.
28 days.
As regular as clockwork.
You're forgetting fuel costs, lad.
The wind costs no man a penny piece.
Except in time. I've estimated an expenditure of about £1,000 for coal.
There's a nice round figure to chip off your profits.
What profits?
Oh, some of which could be offset against the savings in insurance. Now, you say there's no upward limit to size.
The size is limited only by the strength of iron and the power of the steam.
How much will it cost?
I'll say £40,000.
£40,000?
40,000? I could build you 4 clippers for that money.
But 2 of these, Mr. Fraser, can carry the same cargo in half the time.
You're not persuaded.
Oh, show me the way to continuing profits and you'll find me the easiest man in the world to persuade. Now, when could we start building?
You really mean it?
Hold on. Where'll you find the money?
I'll raise it by forming a public company.
Well, Father?
This needs a deal of thinking. Our yards are not equipped to build such a vessel.
Now, you say the limitations are in the strength of the iron and in the power of the steam. So you could build me a ship that'll carry 4,000 tons to Quebec and back in 24 days. Can you do that?
Yes. But not for £40,000.
How much then?
I'll say 60,000.
Then we're in business.
Not yet.
I'll go elsewhere.
This means a heavy investment for Fraser's. In large yards, new slipway, machine shops. I think my son deserves a higher return than a design fee. If you're determined on this course and you go public, I'll not stand in Albert's way. But Fraser's must have 20% holding.
10% into Albert, not to Fraser's.
15. And to Albert. Then if you go down, you'll take only one of the Frasers with you.
Right. I'll float £100,000 worth of shares, 50% to Albert. But That ship must be mine.
All right. Shall we join the ladies?
Dr. Robertson said, "Oh, Papa, there's a pup stuck."
I'm sorry, my dears, we got talking business. You know the way it is. It's
Oh, that's
I think dinner's gone very well, don't you, James?
Oh, very well, yes. Just cost me £100,000.
Put your backs into it, lads. I want this deck as white as your father's face when your mother told him the news. Mr. Tranter, sir? I like a clean ship, Mr. Tranter. A clean ship and a tidy ship.
You need strength, tonnage, and speed. For strength, we're building a composite. A teak planking over iron frames. For tonnage, 36-foot beam, 20-foot draft. For speed, 17,000 square yards of canvas. There's power there, Tom. Power to driver.
Ah, and it'll cost me a king's ransom, I've no doubt.
It'll cost you. Still fall a deal short of Onedin's mark.
Oh? And what is Onedin's mark?
Albert quoted him 60,000. He never blinked.
£60,000? What are you building, a fleet of whalers?
I've got a steamship on my books, Tom. A steamship.
And you're the man who always swore he'd have no truck with these smoke pots.
Onedin's money's as good as yours. And there's more of it.
Oh, is there? But he'll rook you, mark my words, he'll rook you.
If anybody gets his fingers burned, it'll be young Albert. The lad's got to learn some time, and if he takes a tumble with Onedin, it'll be as good a blooding as he'll ever get.
Albert?
Steam will be his side of the business, not mine. I'm too old a dog to learn new tricks.
Well, you take care you're not left holding the baby. Onedin will never raise that kind of money, never in this world.
He's forming a public company to the tune of £100,000.
Might I ask why you've settled on this particular sum?
Well, 60,000 for building and 40,000 for operating costs.
Your costs, if I may say so, appear to be abnormally high when compared to the original investment.
Well, if the ship's a success, I want immediate capital for laying down the keel of the second.
And you have no wish to water your stock by a second issue of shares. Very wise, Mr. Onedin. Very wise.
Now, I also wish to keep complete control of the company.
Advise. Now, your first step will be to issue a prospectus. A prospectus is an inducement to take shares. It has been held at the New Brunswick Railway Company versus Magritte 1860 that those who issue a prospectus are bound to state everything with strict and scrupulous accuracy. For example, if the object of your company is to build such and such a type of ship and for such and such other purposes as laid down in the company's memorandum of association, then those purposes are bound to be stated clearly and must not be departed from. In short, the company's finances must not be used for any other purpose than that which has been declared. Now, is that clearly understood?
Yeah, plain as a pikestaff. I borrow money to build and operate a steamship. Now, how do I keep control of the company?
There's only one effective method, and that is by holding a majority of the shares.
Well, that would come to more than £50,000. It's just not possible.
It is, in fact, entirely possible. As shareholders are notoriously divisive in their opinions, it is not always necessary to hold an absolute majority.
But why, sir?
Oh, prudence, certainly, if you can afford the luxury.
No, well, we can't. So there's an end to it.
On
Come
the
on,
other
James.
hand,
But yes, but I mean,
on the other hand, this £100,000 for which you ask may very well not be required immediately. You can therefore call upon, if you wish, all the shareholders to pay only one-half of the nominal amount. The company would, in that case, have £50,000 in capital and a further £50,000 on call.
On call?
You call upon each shareholder to buy £1 shares for 10 shillings each. And they undertake to pay the company the balance on demand when called upon.
So, if I and my associates, let's say, hold 20-odd thousand pounds worth of shares...
The company would effectively be yours.
Ever stopped off in Rio, Mr. Tranter?
Aye, aye, sir.
waste a lot of my strength and money along that waterfront.
Hops and whores, the curse of seafaring men. The wind's shifting, Mr. Tranter. We must be losing the trades.
Aye, I'll be a sight merrier once we've rounded the Horn.
Callon. You look exceedingly well.
Thank you, Mr. Fogarty. My uncle had the kindness to invite me to luncheon. I trust my presence will not incommode you.
She invited herself. Business, I said, but Emma's got a mind of her own. This damned Onedin getting too big for his boots.
He's far-sighted, I grant you, sir.
He'll come a tumble sooner or later, and bring that young sprig Albert down with him.
Mr. Fraser had sufficient backbone to defy his parents and marry beneath him. Quite a pretty little thing, I recall.
And I saw an enterprise doomed to failure.
Judged too harshly, Uncle. I rather applaud their courage.
And speaking of this prospectus, you'll oblige me, miss, by holding your tongue while Mr. Fogarty and I are talking business. You know, young Albert calls this proposed vessel of his a floating warehouse. Fraser's folly, that's what I call it. Can you imagine it? A ship without masts or spars or sails. It's nothing but a hulk, a perambulating hulk.
Without provisions for sail at all?
No.
Albert Fraser must be confident he's found a completely reliable engine.
There's no such thing. If there was, I'd have heard about it. No. Onedin's overstepped himself this time. These specifications are impossible. Now, think on it, Daniel. Here's a ship carrying a cargo of 4,000 ton at a speed of 14 knots for a range of 6,000 miles. It'll never come off the slipway. You mark my words.
Yeah, well, if it does, days of sail are over.
You're not serious.
You think on it, Mr. Callon. Steam took its first steps some 20-odd years ago. It'll soon be time to take another.
You're frightened. You're afraid of these steam cracks.
I am. Oh. If Fraser and Onedin have found the answer, there'll not be a trade route left open for sail. There are heavy investments in sail, sir.
Australia by steam? No, it's pie in the sky. It'll never happen. Not in our lifetime.
When one leads, others follow. I see only one answer, sir.
Yes?
Take control of the Onedin Line.
Masts? But I thought you'd not require sails. And Albert, if you're losing your nerve, it's too late to go back now.
The mast are supports. The foot of each mast, I'll fit a pair of cranes, derricks. The derricks can be hoisted or lowered by means of a wire rope attached to a steam winch at the foot of the mast. We then utilize the steam winch for raising or lowering cargo.
There's a saving in labour, eh? What do you think, Brother Robert?
Oh, well, but I just can't visualize a ship without sails. And there appears to be very little ship for a great deal of money.
Oh, it's too late to change your mind now.
Hey, Robert, there's a point, Albert, you know. We've a deal invested in the scheme. Now, exactly how is our money being spent, eh?
Well, I can't give you a detailed breakdown of figures, but I've asked for reputable engineering firms to submit tenders to build an engine to my specifications at a total cost of between £15,000 and £20,000.
For one engine?
Well, that includes boilers, steam winches, propeller shafts, pipes, and so on. I've asked for an engine that'll develop 2,500 horsepower.
Say no more. I know exactly where our money's going.
Straight up the chimney and come out in smoke.
Daniel, my father will not live forever.
I trust your father will have many happy years to come, Miss Callon.
Daniel, my name is Emma. One must be practical about these matters. My father has already made certain I do not go to any man without due provision.
I'm no fortune hunter.
Dear Daniel, how could anyone possibly impute to you an ignoble motive?
I assure you
But there are times when I find your moral rectitude somewhat constrained.
The register closed at £100,000.
Do we have him?
He's mortgaged himself up to the hilt. We'll own him, lock, stock, and barrel.
Albatross. I haven't seen one for years.
It's a bad luck bird, following us like a curse.
Superstition. It's seamanship that counts. We're not making good time. I'll try those stunsails next.
In this weather?
Aye, like a real tea clipper. give the order, Mr. Tranter.
Hoist the stunsails! Main and t'gallant!
Stunsails, main and t'gallant!
Certainly be pooped in the first heavy following sea.
If she ever puts to sea, I bought 2 shares. Rest of wasting my money.
Well, if I may have your attention, please, gentlemen. As this is our first annual general meeting, permit me to introduce myself and my colleagues. Now, I'm James Onedin, shareholder. This is Mr. Robert Onedin, shareholder. And this is our designer, Mr. Albert Fraser, shareholder. And this is a model of Mr. Fraser's brainchild. No doubt, in due course, you'll wish to question Mr. Fraser in some detail, particularly as to how he's been spending our money. Now then, you each have an agenda paper in front of you, I take it? So we may take the first item, which is election of chairman and officers. If I could have your nominations, please.
I nominate James Onedin.
I second.
I nominate Mr. Thomas Callon. I second that nomination.
Well, I must rule you out of order, Mr. Fogarty. As far as I'm aware, Mr. Callon is not a shareholder of this company.
You're wrong, Onedin. I am. In fact, I'm the principal shareholder. Just look up the name Wellesley, will you, and oblige me?
2,500 shares.
Oh, well, let's cut this nonsense short. I hold share warrants in the name of Foss, Hardcastle, Turnstile, and Funnel. Just check them in your register, will you, Mr. Robert?
That's right, James. You can outvote us.
Don't lose your head. You seem to have the advantage of us, Mr. Callon. Therefore, seem that you, shareholders here, hold the balance.
Why not put it to the test, Onedin? I think you'll find they'll vote my way.
Well, as you might have gathered, Mr. Callon and myself are at loggerheads. Mr. Callon's chosen to enter this company through the back door by buying shares through nominees. And just ask yourselves why, gentlemen.
Oh, I can tell you why. If Onedin had seen my name on that register, he'd have had a shoal of nominees of his own. And then you would have all been in his pocket by now.
Well, then ask yourselves why Mr. Callon's so eager to seize control of this company.
I just want to see it conducted on sound financial principles, that's all.
Really, that's a very charitable thought, particularly coming from a man so committed to sale as Mr. Callon. Now, my colleagues and myself, we have put every penny that we possess into this project. That is an earnest of our faith. Now, you must have had faith in it too, otherwise you wouldn't have put in a penny piece.
But so far, everything's been on paper. But now, we've all had an opportunity of seeing for ourselves a model of this 8th wonder of the world. Well, look at it. I asked you, gentlemen, you ever see such a monstrosity in all your lives?
Well, I'm sure Mr. Fraser will be only too willing to answer any questions that you may wish to put to him, eh?
Why has no provision been made for the carrying of sails in the event of an engine breakdown?
I'm confident that this engine will not break down.
That's arrogance. There's no such thing as a trouble-free engine, and never will be.
7 odd men out. All we have to do is to win over 4 of them.
Should there be any difficulty, the matter can be speedily rectified by trained engineers.
In every weather, she'd broach and turn turtle.
You've been at sea long enough to know the answer to that, Mr. Fogarty. You put out a sea anchor.
To hold a ship of that size, built of iron, with 4,000 tons of cargo, you'd never make a drogue big enough.
Yeah, well, I would. And so would you.
How much power will your engine develop, Mr. Fraser?
3,000 horsepower.
3,000 horsepower is unheard of. It would shake the ship to pieces.
Rubbish. Are you an engineer, Mr.
Brandon.
That's your name.
I am.
Mr. Brandon. Ah, well, Engineers are notoriously blunt in their speech, but yours is the most sensible question that we've heard so far, so pray continue. I'm sure Mr. Fraser would welcome the opportunity of further explanation, eh?
Is it not a fact that Mr. Brunel only required 1,500 horsepower to propel the Great Britain at a speed of 12 knots?
Times change. That was 20 years ago, sir.
But she's still sailing.
Which speaks well of her original design.
But she had sails. 6 masts with sails. Brunel apparently did not have as much faith in his engine as you do, Mr. Fraser.
And with good reason. In Brunel's day, engines were forged of iron. Mine will be made of steel. It's cheaper, has greater tensile strength, and more reliability. Brunel's boiler pressures were 15 pounds per square inch. Mine will be 60.
There's another hazard. The damn thing doesn't shake itself to pieces, it'll blow up. I think I'm going to ask for my money back.
I'll take your shares tomorrow, Callon.
Aye, but not today. You've run out of capital, haven't you?
Well, then give me until tomorrow and I'll find it.
No doubt. Because by tomorrow, when news of this eyesore leaks out, these shares won't be worth the paper they're printed on.
Look, what are you proposing? That we wind up the company before we start?
Well, it's better than throwing good money after bad, isn't it?
Aye, well, for a man who claims to have the interests of the investors at heart, that's a particularly pessimistic point of view. Or are you scared of a bit of a competition, then?
Now, listen to me.
All right, Mr. Callon. I notice that this ship is to be steered by that midship structure.
The bridge.
On the assumption that this bridge is not washed overboard in the first heavy sea, how do you propose to connect the steering wheel to the rudder?
By a series of iron rods and chains running along the afterdeck.
Is it not an axiom in engineering that the strength of a chain lies in its weakest link? Just how many weak links will connect rudder to steering wheel, Mr. Fraser? And even if your engine is half as sound as you claim it to be, what happens to your ship when one of those weak links snaps?
It is replaced.
Oh. Replaced? Have you ever served aboard a ship, Mr. Fraser?
No. And I doubt that you've ever designed an engine.
Then perhaps we'll ask Mr. Onedin his opinion, for he happens to be of the same qualifications. Is it not a fact, Mr. Onedin, that a ship without a rudder is at the mercy of the sea?
Quite true. I was on such a ship once. One of yours, Mr. Callon.
How much coal will be needed to drive this 3,000 horsepower machinery, Mr. Fraser?
At a boiler pressure of 60 pounds per square inch, 2 pounds per horsepower per hour.
No matter what happens, you stay on the board. Callon daren't throw you off without showing his hand.
If we lose, I resign.
Don't be a fool. We've got to see this ship through. You're the only one that can do it.
You really do believe in it?
Oh, I do. Especially now that Callon's shown his claws. He believes in it, and he believes in it, and the thought frightens him.
But if the voting goes against you, what will you do?
Fight him. It's either him or me. One must break the other.
Mr. Fraser, correct me if I'm wrong, but my calculations show that your figure of 2 pounds per horsepower per hour would give a coal consumption of 2.5 tons per hour.
That is so.
2.5 tons per hour. You'll agree, Mr. Fraser, that the wind is a free commodity.
But a variable one. It could prove an expensive economy in the long run.
But you have no intention of taking advantage of this free wind.
None whatsoever.
Not even when that wind can blow a ship along at 18 or 20 knots. You'd still obstinate and refuse to use it?
Yes, sir.
You'd keep these non-economical engines turning over 24 hours a day?
Exactly.
It's at a cost, gentlemen. Over and above all the other costs. At a cost of not less than £50 a day of our money. It'll go up in smoke, up that tin chimney stack there. I say it's not to be borne.
What alternative do you suggest, Mr. Callon? That's your demand. All right, then demand your money back. Every penny, every pound lies untouched in that bank there. Come on and ask for it back.
What are you trying to do? Are you trying to ruin us?
Gambling on their greed, their fear, lad. Look, it starts up again tomorrow.
How?
With our nominees.
Gentlemen, please, I beg you. Don't play into his hands. It only needs 2 minority shareholders to withdraw their investment, and Onedin holds this company in his fist.
Aye.
Now, I'm not against innovation, gentlemen, but I've been in business too long and too successfully to be hoodwinked by such a catchpenny scheme as this. Well, I have faith in this ship, but with reasonable modification.
Never.
I'm a reasonable man, sir. I say that this ship, with masts and sails and an engine of somewhat less power, could be a worthwhile proposition. Now, I'm sure the name of Mr. Alfred Holt is well known to all of you.
Mr. Alfred Holt?
Mr. Alfred Holt is a prudent, scholarly man and a brilliant engineer.
No, sir.
Oh, well, Mr. Holt is about to build an iron ship for the Far East trade. Now, this ship will be the finest and most powerful steamship ever built. But it will have 3 masts and a full set of sails.
Gentlemen, I've already nominated Mr. Callon for chairman. I have seconded the motion. All in favour?
Aye! Carried, I think, Mr. Onedin.
Callon. I'm still a shareholder.
Not for long, Onedin. Not for long.
Callon's first objective would be to call in the balance.
A further 20,000.
Oh, we'll have a breathing space, a month or 2. He can't act too quickly. Callon might be chairman and majority shareholder, but he doesn't own the company. He can't play ducks and drakes with the company's finances, not while I'm looking over his shoulder. Now, that's a lesson that I'm going to teach him.
And we still have our sailing ships.
And on the starboard bow! There she is, Tierra del Fuego.
Aye, and a right storm to go with it. If we hold on much longer, we'll be on a lee shore.
Right, Mr. Tranter. Reef the topsail.
Aye, Captain.
And the topgallants.
Reef the topsail.
Hold her steady!
Look at those ships turning their guts out.
man!
At least he's among those saved, homeward bound now.
It's a total loss. Nothing saved. Nothing.
Nothing? But she was insured.
Not for doubling round the horn. Seems even the elements are against me.
The other ships, other cargoes. Come now, where's the man I married? The man with ambition enough for an army of Napoleons.
Brought you nothing but misfortune.
And I married you for security.
Well, don't you regret our marriage now?
I may have married you for security, but I found something more important. You've not lost everything. You still have the Charlotte Rhodes.
Well, seems I still have you, Anne.